there are many kinds of genres in video games, but in 2018 and 2019, there's one that really has been dominating everything. It's the battle royale genre, and it got to the point where they literally made a battle royale Tetris game. You don't ask me. It's just a thing. I guess. But overall, there's a genre that is slowly and just slowly dying out, and that was really popular at one point as well. It's the looter shooter genre. It's I would say it's a kind of a new term, but it's been around for a while. For example, with Destiny, it became a super popular game, but then when they made number two, they were like, we don't really like this as much anymore. And then recently, they made Anthem. Now, with Anthem, there's a lot of problems. Like there's so many problems. This game is just it's a giant cash grab in a nutshell. Like people are calling this game the grinding simulator. Like the amount of grinding you need to level up in this game is completely and utterly ridiculous. Like it's called a looter shooter. I get that. That's like the genre, but at the same time, it's a little bit too much grinding and the same missions. There's the same missions over and over again. There's lots of repetitive things in the game. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. But there's some like positives. I'm like playing games like Destiny. It's really fun with friends, and I'm guessing playing games like Anthem with friends is awesome as well. But it can't really get rid of the flaws. One of the biggest flaws is the load times. Like, there's this YouTube channel called The Angry Joe Show. I don't really watch him as much because, his political stuff, and it's like, it's a little iffy. But overall, he makes pretty good content, pretty good reviews. Okay, overall, it took 10 minutes. Half of it was load times, and half of it was actual gameplay. That is ridiculous. When playing Anthem, the amount of loading that is in this game is ridiculous. I get it. The game, it graphically looks pretty decent. I get that. But for the game to load as much as it does now is a little off. In my opinion, I think they should have waited for the new Xbox whatever and then PlayStation 5 to put out Anthem. Because the current console generation can barely maintain the graphical fidelity of Anthem. Because of that, the load times suffer. We suffer because of that. Also, to be fair, it's not just the Xbox and PlayStation that have been suffering. Also on PC, they've been suffering too. The load times are still absolutely ridiculous. You can have the graphical settings turned down to low, and you'd still sit there and wait forever. And also, when the beta first came out for the game, people kept getting kicked out the game. You kept getting slingshotted everywhere. The load times were just absolutely abysmal. The game was fundamentally broken before it even came out. Well, a week before it came out, and when it came out, they fixed a lot of stuff, which is good. But it wasn't really fixed overall. There's a lot of things still wrong with it. Speaking of graphics from earlier, the game has been downgraded in terms of graphics when you look at the E3 trailer and the actual retail version of the game. There was a huge downgrade in terms of graphical fidelity. It looks completely different. There's less NPCs, there's less things in the background. It looks more murky and muddy. The giant robot in the background isn't moving anymore. It's more stagnant, standing still. There's so many changes in the game. The enemies, the way, like, even some of the gameplay has changed. Like some of the effects from the trailer has changed as well. It's ridiculous. There's so many changes that it's crazy. To be honest, if BioWare would have waited until the next PlayStation 5 and Xbox whatever, then the game would have looked a lot better. The load times would have been fixed, and I would say personally, I would say they release unfinished products. Like when Destiny came out, they announced DLC before the game even came out. So there's already withheld content and, you know, like bugs and glitches and whatnot. With Anthem, they're probably going to do the same thing. There's going to be gameplay that is locked behind a DLC and, you know, just complete like chasms of gameplay just locked when we can't get to it for a while. When they do, when there is like a definitive edition or a Game of the Year edition with all the DLCs in it in the future, odds are it's going to be on the next PlayStation 5 and Xbox, whatever, and then all the bugs and glitches will be fixed, and then everybody can start playing the game. But for now, the game has abysmal sales, and people are returning it at a really high rate.
Anthem stories for much longer.
Oh, that's so sad. Nobody will be doing much of anything with Anthem for much longer because super early sales numbers show it may be one of the biggest bombs in recent history.
Oh no!
Specifically because it feels like a super grind fest. I get that, yes, it's a looter shooter, I get that. But there's too much grinding, and there's also, sad to say it, microtransactions. Oh, no. Okay, I'm okay with like microtransactions that don't affect gameplay. Like, that's cool. But at the same time, I don't really want to pay for, you know, colors for a skin. Like if I want my javelin to look blue or green or purple or whatever, and grinding for it takes forever. Like it's a grind fest. It's a looter shooter at its best, at its core. I personally like if this game was, you know, a single player with online elements, that'd be a lot better. But it's a specific online game. Yes, you can play it in single player mode. I guess kind of, but that's not how it's supposed to be played. There are other games that have, you know, way better mechanics in terms of single player functionality. For example, the best looter shooter to ever exist, in my opinion, is Borderlands. Borderlands 1, 2, pre-sequel, they're all really fun games. And they're also looter shooters without the microtransactions. You can play online with your friends. There's a good story mode, good single player. The graphics are good for its time. Now it's starting to become a little bit dated, but it has a unique art style, you know, like a cartoony Overwatch, you know, painting kind of style. And it's a really cool thing. Now, with Anthem, they need to look at Borderlands and say, hey, we should have been more like them. I get it. Like the art styles are completely different. The engines are different. A lot of things are different about it, but the core value is that, you know, it's a shooting game and it's a looter shooter. Like they should have looked at they looked at Destiny and they're like, Destiny made $1 billion. Let's copy them. Whoa. They should have looked at multiple games and not just one and went from there. My personal opinion is that Anthem basically killed the looter shooter genre. And also Destiny had a hand in it too. But we're gonna have to wait for about, I want to say, a year and a half from now, or until there's a new PlayStation, whatever, an Xbox, whatever. Until there's you know, things fixed in you know, this game. We're gonna have to wait for a new update. Well, several updates, not just one or two. We're gonna have to wait for the definitive edition when they add all the DLC. We're gonna have to wait when they fix all the load times and the load screens and all this other jazz. The game is a broken mess until then. And the sales, the sales like reflect that. People don't like it. People want a good product that is, you know, that functions well. No one wants to sit there and wait for load times and, you know, pay for microtransactions and, you know, want their graphics to, you know, be downgraded significantly. When it does come out on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox, whatever, I keep saying that over and over again. Everything's gonna be fixed by the time then, and that's gonna take that's literally gonna happen in about a year or so from now. And which I can't wait to play it again. I kind of like dropped Anthem and I was just like, I don't feel like it. Like it's too much. I really don't. Not until they fix things. That's what happened to me in Destiny 2. Destiny 1 was actually pretty dope, and then Destiny 2 they kind of just screwed everything up and just made it worse, and then they fixed everything else later on, and that's when the game became somewhat fun. What do you guys think in the comments down below? Am I being overly critical? Am I thinking too hard about it? Am I supposed to like turn off my brain and just play and just don't think too much about it? Or is it okay, you know, as a consumer to have critiques? And also as a YouTuber, it's kind of my job to sit there and analyze things and, you know, review. I wouldn't really call this a review. I would call it like the name of the video is Looter Shooters Dead, or the Looter Shooter genre is dead, or something like that. I forgot. I'll make up the title as I go. But leave your replies in the comments down below. I reply to every single comment. If you say something, I will reply to it. That is how this works. It is the circle of life. It is YouTube. I love talking to my small YouTube community about, you know, video games, anime, that kind of stuff. So if you have anything to say, please leave it in the comments down below and I'll reply. Yeah, that's about it. Do you guys think that the looter shooter genre is dead? Like, subscribe, and peace.